Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at a scenario where North and South America go to war. So far I've done Europe and Africa, but that was more of a recolonization thing. I've done Europe versus Asia, and today we are doing North America versus South America. Now some people consider the border the Panama Canal, or might consider Trinidad and Tobago a part of South America. Or they might consider Greenland a part of Europe because of Denmark, but geographically it's actually North American. But these are just the borders I'm going with right now, as it simplifies things very much. With the European video, it's a bit more awkward as the border is here and it divides up multiple countries. With Africa, yeah, you could just get rid of the Sinai Peninsula. But here, it's a little change. I decided not to do it. So with that, let's go ahead and get right into this with North American troops pushing down from Panama. Although there is, if you didn't know, a massive kind of jungle here. It's a swamp actually, not a jungle. So push-in is very, very slight with only a few Panamese troops. Whereas over here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Venezuelan army makes a landing and captures the island. With this, a stalemate is reached quickly as nobody can pass. I think it's the Darien's Gap? I think that's the one. But yeah, it's a massive swamp right there in between North and South America. Luckily for the red team, they have the USA on their side. And honestly, in my video, USA versus the Americas, it was pretty close already. So add in Mexico, Canada, Central America, and the Caribbean. And I'm pretty sure we all know who's going to win this. Let's still let it play out though. South America has some strong countries like Brazil, Argentina, Chile. They have Colombia. So they're going to put up a fight. But here, what the US is doing is going for one of the weaker nations, which is going to be Guyana, also French Guiana. We're just going to be giving them independence here. We're going to say that France has removed their military assets from there. Unrealistic, I should mention already, but it just makes it, like, if this were white, it would not look like South America. With that though, the USA makes a landing on Ecuador, along with taking all Ecuadorian islands off the coast. With this, pretty much Brazilian troops just push down to hold it off, but while American troops are diverting the Brazilians to guard Ecuador, they make another landing over here in Guyana, which is much more successful, as the area is the weakest in South America by far. After capturing the area, they make a new landing on Trinidad and Tobago, and begin to push up into Venezuela, meeting up with the island. They then continue to push out through Panama, and although it's originally very difficult and there's a lot of illness, disease, and, well, yeah, those are the two main issues here, they eventually get past it, and once they reach Colombia and start to capture some cities, it gets a lot easier for them. They begin to sweep through northern South America and connect up their two fronts in Colombia and Venezuela, and with their coastline gone, Venezuela is practically dead, leading to a majority of their land flipping to the United States. Meanwhile, though, Brazilian troops have arrived in Ecuador and kicked out the United States. With these borders, though, Brazil decides to push back up to the border, but not liberate the Guianas, as it's not worth it. They hold a border here along the Amazon rainforest, as it would be stupid of the US to go for the area. They might push in a bit to get the resources, but overall, it's not worth it. There are like barely any major cities there at all. It's better to push down the coast behind the Andes, but they do go ahead and capitulate Colombia as well, gaining them a lot of land. With this, Brazilian troops are now up here, so they continue to make landings along the Ecuadorian coastline until eventually they meet up with their Colombian divisions and begin to push down the Peruvian coast behind the Andes Mountains. This goes incredibly successfully as the North Americans have full naval dominance, especially along the Pacific coast. Maybe over here they're having some issues against the full might of the Brazilian and Argentinian navies. But over here they just have to deal with Peru and Chile, which is going to be a whole lot easier. I thought they continue to push down the Peruvian coast until eventually they make that push I said they would make into the Amazon, to try and secure all the resources in the area. This goes incredibly successfully for them, as yes, they lose a lot of troops, but on a map it looks so much nicer, so do I really care? No, I don't. From there, they make 2 pushes through the Andes. It's stupid to try and make more. It is incredibly difficult, but if Napoleon can cross the Alps, then the U.S. can cross the Andes. With that, they make 1 encirclement over here in northern Peru, and 1 more breakthrough to try and seep into Bolivia. This new Peruvian and Ecuadorian pocket completely capitulates to the United States. And over here in Bolivia, things are not looking very good, as red team troops are flooding in. Over here in Bolivia, Brazil actually sees a great opportunity to cut off the American armies, and although this goes amazingly in the beginning, it keeps going amazingly. Brazil wipes out an entire American regiment, although to do this they did have to give up some of their northern land, as the American Navy is closing in and killing the Brazilians slowly but surely, and the Brazilians can't keep holding them off. With this, the Americans retreat from southern Peru, having lost a lot of their influence over the region, and the border looks something like this. They actually decide to fully retreat from Peru, or at least mostly retreat from Peru, as there's no point in keeping the country. We all know the country that's keeping South America together, and that's right here. That is Brazil. I was about to say Peru, but no, that is Brazil. And American troops are going to begin pushing down the Brazilian coastline. In the north, it's less important, but most of Brazil's population is along the coast, so this is becoming an incredible success for the Americans, the North Americans in general. A new combined army of pretty much all other American divisions, especially Mexican and Central American, starts to push back down the Peruvian coast, going incredibly successfully as nobody expected this. They then do the exact same thing that for some reason the blue team didn't see coming. And while they are guerrilla warfaring it out in the Andes mountain range, they make 1 swift push through and into the Amazon. And although casualties are incredibly high in the beginning, by taking out the pocket, they give South America twice as many casualties, making it completely worth it for them. With this, the Brazilian armies are incredibly disorganized, and the North Americans are pushing down the Brazilian coastline until eventually they start to reach some of the very major cities. And these are going to result in some of the most difficult battles yet, but overall, this is the full North American military. And eventually, a majority of the Brazilian military is encircled, and although they do break out with semi-ease, this is seen as more of a distraction than an actual push in, as the rest of the Brazilian coast is captured. Uruguay stands no chance. And at this point, the entire country of Brazil surrenders, along with Peru. So yeah, that's absolutely terrible for South America. They have just lost their most powerful country and a decently strong one as well. What are they going to do from here? Well, they're going to try and fight back, try and push back into Brazil, but overall there's no hope here. Uruguay is recaptured, but the Americans push into Paraguay, capture the entire country, and then push back down into Uruguay and capture that country, recapture all of Brazil, and with the fall of Buenos Aires, Chile is the only real major country left. Argentina has lost a lot of their important land with the fall of most of the north and a lot of their coast. And Chile sees absolutely no point in fighting. They can try and guerrilla warfare it out, but multiple North American invasions are planned into Bolivia, and they're planning to cut the blue team into 2. And at this point, there are 0 hopes of South America surrenders. As for the borders, let's go ahead and see here. First things first, of course, North America won. But what's going to happen here? Well, most of the bordering countries don't get any land. Panama gets a tiny bit of land across the border with Colombia. But Trinidad and Tobago gets nothing. And the rest of this is going to be U.S. puppeting time. Well, first things first, and that is the major power, obviously the U.S., followed by Canada, followed by Mexico. Honestly, I don't think any other countries here would get any colonies or any puppets or anything like that. But Mexico gets one. Mexico gets one up here in northern South America, over here around Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. as the region is Spanish-speaking and easy for Mexico to control. The USA gets a puppet over here in northern South America, giving them rights and access to a lot of the Amazon rainforest, which they instantly turn into a protectorate to keep anyone from cutting it down or burning it down. Canada also gets themselves a small reserve with, small coastline, small coast area, but it gives them some resources and rights in South America. Besides this, every single country left here is now under American influence, and all the Spanish-speaking ones end up uniting, as they have no reason not to. They all just lost a bunch of land. They were all just weakened heavily. And any Bolivian or Chilean, any Argentinian or Chilean issues that may have kept that from happening, well, now that they all got new governments and all just lost the war, most of those issues are fixed, as the Americans and North Americans can just come down and say, hey, you're all uniting, nothing you can do about it. And that's pretty much what happens here. Although, as I said, they will survive, and the Americas just got a whole lot more American. That sounds so wrong to say, but I'm guessing, the USA just, they already had a lot of influence over the Americas. That influence has done nothing but grow, they got a direct puppet, and half of South America that's left is now influenced by them. Pretty big advantage. Yeah. So yeah, USA just got a whole lot from this. Everyone else kind of screwed, but Mexico got some land. Canada got themselves a puppet. Although honestly, Canada won't need the lumber. They have plenty of their own. So that might be ceded to Mexico in the future. There are some Brazilian lands, but it's mostly Amazon rainforest. Nobody really cares about it. It's probably going to unite with the U.S. Amazon territory to form a protectorate in charge of the resources and just keeping the environment. Is that too optimistic? Possibly, but are we going to assume it anyway? Yes. Yes, we are. Anyways, over here in the American zone, well, it's by far the largest and the most powerful, but who would have guessed that? The U.S. is the most powerful country in North America by far, and pretty much just carried the team. Canada, they did something. Mexico, they did something. But yeah, let's be honest here. If this actually happened in real life, the USA would get most of the spoils, since they'd be doing most of the work. With that, let's finish coloring this in, and I'll show you the final borders of South America after the North American invasion. I do see Panama getting some land, so yeah, good job, Panama. Go ahead and color it all white. So yeah, here we go. This is now an American puppet. This is a Mexican puppet. Actually, let's just give it all to Mexico. It's either Spanish-speaking or rainforest. And Canada basically just says, yeah, sure, why not? With that, this is probably all eventually going to unite into Northern Protectorate. Then we still have Brazil, and we have our Spanish Protectorate, all influenced heavily by the US, and this one by Mexico. And Canada, well, they share influence with the US. They might actually use this as a chance to unite. You obviously can't know what would happen since it is an unrealistic scenario, but I do hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.